Hello and welcome to The Shift, the podcast that aims to tell the no-holds-barred truth about being a woman post-40. Created and hosted by me, journalist and author Sam Baker. This week's podcast comes to you from a basement by the Thames, with a dog quietly farting in the corner. But this is not just any dog. This dog is Wolfie Spicer, the subject of Lost Dog, his owner/human slave Kate Spicer's tear-jerking memoir cum love letter. It's also bloody funny and brilliantly, beautifully written.
I listened to some women of my age, and it was like people never fucking shut up, constantly on at them. When are you going to have a baby, this, that and the other. I saw people sort of pick it up with me kind of delicately and awkwardly.
Ah, the baby debate. There is no one better than Kate to talk about the way child-free women are stereotyped. There's also swearing, and chemicals, and not just the hormone replacing kind. And as you'll hear, midlife women have a lot to swear about. So here we are, deep in the bowels of Kate's publisher in central London, in a room that's affectionately known as the podcast studio. But it's basically a cupboard in a basement, very cosy. Me and Kate's PR have been here for about an hour. Kate has just rocked up, but it doesn't matter that Kate's an hour late because she's brought a friend. She's brought Wolfie. Hi, Wolfie.
Ruff. He doesn't actually bark.
He doesn't bark. He doesn't do anything. But take my word for it, Wolfie is here and he's looking very alert. Kate.
Hello.
Hello.
Yeah.
This is weird, isn't it? Kate and I have known each other a really long time because back in the day we both worked on Minx together.
You were my boss.
I was her boss. Yeah.
And I hadn't worked very often in my life, and was
Kate's a born freelancer, shall we say?
Yeah, born free lancer. Yeah, to the point where I don't even know how to dress to go to an office anymore, and I avoid any meeting that might take place in an office.
That's fair enough. I get that. So Lost Dog, it's a book of two halves, really, isn't it? The first half is about being a girl about town. I don't want to say ageing.
Yeah. Oh my God.
But
the ageing started 20 years ago.
Aging girl about town.
Yeah.
And getting a dog. And the second half is about losing the dog and finding the dog.
Yeah.
But there's a fair amount in there with your family talking about how Wolfie is a baby replacement.
That comes up so much. When I was doing press for the book, the Telegraph made it their headline that it was a replacement child. The Mail online, the headline was basically like, woman finds happiness by finding baby replacement dog. And I was so upset by that. I actually rang them up and asked them to change it. And weirdly, they did. But, the Telegraph was in print. So people go to that constantly, to the point where I was so good at deflecting that. And I would get so angry about the fact that a dog is seen as a kind of baby substitute. Actually, I stopped thinking about it. Maybe he is a bit of a baby substitute. Maybe he is. Maybe I need to admit that to myself, that we all have this kind of well of love in us. And if you don't give it to a child, you can give it to an animal. I'm sure you can relate to that. You love your cat.
I do love my cat, weirdly, yes.
But you love them in a different way. But yeah, I think there is a certain kind of amount of parenting that goes on. But the word dog mummy makes me want to vomit.
You would never say that. Dog
no.
mummy. Or dog
fur
or
baby.
The whole fur baby.
Oh my God.
Oh my God. It was one of the things that struck me in the book over and over again, though, that sense of like when is it your mum or your stepmum who mutters first child like you can't hear?
Oh, my stepfather. The dog jumped on the sofa and he whispered an aside to another 75-year-old who was going, "Dog's on the sofa, that's outrageous." And he said, "Oh," and he just raised his eyeballs and went, "First child." And I was like, "I can hear you." Oh, it's so belittling,
I hate to do this straight away, but you wouldn't do that to a bloke with a dog. You wouldn't say, "Oh, well, he's got that dog because he hasn't got a baby."
That's a really good point. Although I think we do criticise men more than we think. It's just because they already have a position of power. It doesn't seem to undermine them in quite the same way. But what they're doing when they do that is they're mocking love. They are belittling love, which is actually what makes the world go round. Love is the top thing of everything. It's the energy that drives everything wonderful in this world. And people are mocking it and making you feel... And I feel ashamed. I do feel ashamed when people pick up on how much I love my dog. It makes me squirm and it makes me feel vulnerable. And so showing love, showing that you do love, is then used as a kind of stick to beat you with. What a bleeped up world we live in. I see people do it with women with their kids as well. Oh, first child.
It's kind of like you can't do anything right, though, because as a woman, like, if you don't have children, like, neither you nor I have children.
Yeah, barren spinsters.
Yeah, when are you going to have children? Why haven't you had children? Is there some really good reason? Because there's got to be a good reason. And then, you know, everything you do is wrong. So then you get a dog, or in my case, a cat, and then that's wrong too.
People never really pick me up on not having kids, because I think I walk around feeling like I'm the most vulnerable, kind of weak, defenceless little kitten. I've just started seeing a shrink, so we've been learning a lot about some of this stuff. But I have an outward-facing personality. I can't remember what the shrink word is. Yeah. But I think I push out a lot of aggression to protect, like, the inner vulnerable thing. So actually, I don't think people ever dared ask me why I didn't have kids. I mean, it happened a bit, but I listened to some women of my age, and it was like people never fucking shut up. Constantly on at them. When are you going to have a baby? This, that, and the other. I saw people sort of pick it up with me kind of delicately and awkwardly. So I never really got that. I get more stick for how much I love the dog than I ever did for not having kids.
It's interesting that you say, what did you say, that you're like a delicate little shy person inside.
Yeah.
And when we...
Fragile.
When we worked together, you said you were a happy, unhappy person.
Yeah, now
Is that right?
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think that's kind of the same thing, isn't it? It's like how you present as scary and confident.
I was talking to a shrink about it. We all have these outward-facing personality that just gets the job of life done. I think Deborah Levy's written about it. Kind of, you know, so if you're sort of like this, you come in and you're, and then shit's going to get done. But whether it gets done in the right way, or the way that's going to be most fulfilling or nurturing or interesting for you, is moot. And I think part of my responsibility as a middle-aged woman to myself is to just allow myself to be a bit more the authentic real me, rather than this kind of brittle, aggro monster, which I'm not. I'm not any of those things.
How did you get to that point of working out what you needed to be for yourself as a middle-aged woman?
Well, it's a work in progress, for sure. And I'm going to be really honest with you, actually. I did some therapy, and then I did some really, really, really strong psychedelics in very kind of controlled environments at first. And then I went to Peru, and it was a slightly less controlled environment. I've done them on 10 occasions now. And that stuff brought the truth to my lap, dumped it in my lap. I lay in the fetal position for many hours and felt sick and hated myself and purged myself of a lot of self-loathing. And who I want to be as a middle-aged woman is just comfortable with being me and not hiding behind an identity that suits the people around me. Or I like the look of. I mean, if I like that identity of being the kind of brusque, get the job done, aggro, rock and roll spinster, then fine, you can be that. But if that's quite far from who you really are inside, then life's going to be quite tiring. And when you are just yourself and you're grounded, life is just great all the time. Even when it's shit, it's great. And that's been just a phenomenal epiphany for me and totally life-changing. And I don't know that the really, really strong psychedelics, which I took in very, very safe environments, by the way, I don't know that they're entirely where I found my truth, if you like. But it was part of it. And I kind of went through a late 40s journey of self-discovery. The dog was a big part of that, really big, because the dog arrived and I gained structure in my life. I had to get up in the morning. I was in nature. In nature is so important to connecting to who we are. So the dog brought me into nature. The dog allowed love to rise in me. I sound like I'm from California.
Yeah, you do. You sound really woo-woo.
Yeah, but the dog allowed me to feel love. And giving and receiving love is a really big part of being a human being. So the dog started a really important journey for me. Oh my God, I just used the word journey to describe my life.
And you did it seriously as well.
Yeah.
Pre-Wolfie, you struggled with that you were worthy of love.
I think many of us struggle with that. And it's why a lot of relationships fail. And I think sometimes, even if you think you're worthy of love, the person you love won't let you love them. And that is really complicated. So we're just surrounded by people who don't think they're worthy of love, who things happen in your childhood and, psychotherapists, shamans, doesn't matter. Everybody looks back to what was that wound.
Yeah. Oh my God.
That wound. Oh my God.
You used to be like you'd swallowed a self-help manual.
No, but because you're born this beautiful, open, loving, deep breathing, fully nourished being, and then you're just damaged by life.
Yeah, it's like you've got that They Fuck You Up Your Mum and Dad poem in the book, haven't you?
I mean, it's just that poem taught me more. That poem is worth more to me than most of the psychotherapy I've ever had. They do fuck you up. It doesn't matter how great your parents are, they fuck you up, your mum and dad. They never mean to, but they do. Because they define who you are. But you can take a lot of that back and rediscover yourself.
I think it's really fascinating. It really interested me that you said just now that you feel at a point like no matter how shit things can be, because I felt like that this year, that it's been a really, really, really shit year for me, but I still feel better than I kind of ever have. About no matter how crap it is, what nobody tells you is that you get to this point in your life and actually it's, no matter how hard it is, it's still better than it ever was.
But I think
worked it out.
I think some people grow up a lot happier and they don't have that stuff that's holding them back from just living a big, full, happy life where they smile a lot.
Do you know any of those people?
Yeah, I do. I do know happy people. I think some people don't have to do the work, but I think you do have to do the work. And I went on doing a piece recently about the Wim Hof method. Do you know about that? So Wim Hof is the Iceman, and it's all about, packing yourself in ice and conquering the cold and controlling your breath. And the guy who was taking the course, we were up in the middle of nowhere, off-grid in Scotland, was really kind of doer and taciturn and intractable, and I just could tell he couldn't bear me, this sort of frivolous London media person who turns up. And we would just we all talked quite a lot, and I said something like, God, the work never ends. And he went, absolutely, Kate, the work never ends. And so this kind of gristly, sinewy 100% man he's basically talking about the fact you need to work on yourself and work on your life all the time. I mean, not every minute of every day, but you can't just sit back and let life happen to you. You have to be this really engaged, strong and insightful insight into yourself. What I see a lot in people is that as they get a bit older, they become very comfortable with who they are. And actually who they are is a bit annoying, a bit of a blowhard. They know it all. I mean, I see that in myself. It's painful. Like when I see that in myself, I'm like, oh, shut up. You don't know everything. So, yeah, we need to check ourselves all the time, but in a totally brilliant, loving way, like, oh, you, and laugh at yourself, not kind of beating yourself up and hating yourself, which is what I would do in the days when you and me were working together in the late 90s when I was doing...
When we were both car crashes in different ways. I think.
Yeah, I mean, I was a car crash with a pint in one hand and a wrap in the other. I mean, oh... God.
I'm just going to get this out there now because Kate loves me mentioning this. When we worked together, Kate set fire to the office.
Well, that was because I was working so hard.
Yeah, that's true.
It wasn't because I was like smoking crack or anything. I worked till midnight and I was burning scented candles. I think 2 years earlier, we would have been allowed to smoke in the office probably. It was that olden times.
Yeah, that's how long ago it was.
Yeah, it was ye old days. And I was working late and I lit a scented candle and just chain smoked in the office. I mean, can you imagine A, chain smoking, or B, doing anything like that in the office?
No.
And then I left the bloody candle burning. All those fags, and I left the candle burning. And it was the most awful thing ever to come in and just see this black hole where my office used to be.
And it just been decorated.
And you sitting there with tears in your eyes. You weren't even angry, you were worse, you were disappointed.
Oh no, that makes me sound like your mum.
No, it was like, what have I done to this woman who took a chance on me? Oh wow.
Oh no, the whole thing was awful. It was like a really, really shit year of my life. Nothing to do with you.
Well,
it was Jinx, that poor magazine.
I didn't know at that time, but apparently the board, the level above you at the board level, apparently they all thought it was hilarious.
Yeah, did they? Well, they didn't share that with us.
No.
They just kept making us go outside and calling fire alarms, and then standing on a box and announcing to the entire building that it was our fault that they were there.
Well, my fault.
Yeah.
My fault.
If you don't like being out here in the rain, blame Minx.
Oh, God. Well, blame Kate Spicer. Well, I mean, that in my... I mean, I'd feel pretty bad if I did that now, really, but...
You wouldn't do it now, though, would you? Do you think, on the subject of change, do you think that's connected in any way to the kind of that menopausal time of life?
Well,
or just change in general?
This is a really big question because my ex-boyfriend... One of the things that used to make me think he was quite a kind of noble, cool, sort of feminine, switched-on guy was he told me that he was kind of held his mum's hand through the menopause because his father left her when she was menopausal. I mean, I shouldn't really be saying this, but I'm pretty sure he won't be listening.
Fingers crossed.
And then weirdly, him and I split up when I'm really first start going through the menopause. So I think... it's a very weird kind of trickle, isn't it? The menopause, funny things change and change and change. And then eventually some weird physical event will happen. You'll be like, yeah, this is really happening now. It was almost to the day I started having this insane, I don't want to get too detailed, because the first day of this insane 5-week period was on the day the whole relationship started to really fall apart. And it was almost like he could smell my hormones. So I don't know. I mean, there are parts of me that wonder: has he just been simply switched off by the fact that my fertility is now just gone? But I think that's probably paranoia. I mean, he has all sorts of other things going on. But you do start looking at the menopause as something that is impacting on your life in different ways. As soon as that happened, I told my GP, sod off, I don't want antidepressants, I want HRT. I cannot cope with this relationship breaking down while also having those strange change in ability to cope with things, or anxiety, or leaving your phone in the fridge constantly. And overnight, it's like I've got me back. It's like almost the minute I rub the gel on my arm, maybe it's psychosomatic, maybe it's placebo. I just felt much better able to cope and get on with things. So regards change, I feel like change is constant. I think our hormones fluctuate loads throughout our life. I think change is constant. And I think that hormonal change was happening gradually, and then it suddenly became something that wasn't just about change. It was about something that was really making my life complicated. And I knew there was a solution, so I just slapped that gel on. I felt the menopausal changes. I've seen slight changes, but they were kind of a natural course of events.
And have you felt like you've been age shamed at all?
I age shame myself constantly.
How does that manifest?
When you wake up and you feel really, really good about yourself, and you just see you at 30 in the mirror and you just think you look fantastic. And actually, that's all you really need, that bit of swagger, and you go out in the world. Because I think most beauty comes from within, and only very, very unpleasant men are attracted to purely good-looking women. I think most men with any texture or interest to them, looks is only a small part of what they're... But I age shame myself constantly because when I notice the collagen is gone, that hurts, actually. That does hurt because the change in texture in your skin. My brother said to me once, and we have been up really late, but I was just leaving his house, and he was just shutting the door, and I went, hang on a minute, and I wanted to ask him something, and he went, you look just like Aunt Anne, and just shut the door. I was
my God.
Oh no, it's fine. That's the way we communicate with each other. It was fine. It wasn't a horrible thing. But my Aunt Anne is beautiful, but she's 85. It's not about wrinkles. It's about the changing way your skin folds because there isn't the collagen to kind of hold it out. And the same with the texture of the skin on your legs. And whenever I see that, my heart sinks just a tiny bit. But I try and sort of live with it. If you want to go back to California speak, I like to sit with it. I like to sit with those uncomfortable feelings. You know, no, I don't think anybody truly loves and embraces losing their youthful bloom. But I think lots of people embrace just life's a bit more joyful when you're a bit more comfortable in your own skin, even if that skin's slightly disappointing. Are the people age shaming me? Again, I wonder if it's a little bit like the baby thing. I wonder if people maybe don't dare. Because I don't feel like I've been age shamed. But I see a lack of interest on the part of female editors, I might add, in hearing my story on an ongoing weekly basis, because it's much nicer to hear a story from a girl whose face looks pretty, which is fair enough. Okay, I don't think it's personal, but I do see a lack of interest because I don't look sort of fecund. But on the part of women as much as men,
yeah,
I'm also very aware that constant kind of sexual looking that happens between men and women, that is less. But I wonder if that's just me, because I had this really, really amazing day, actually. So my boyfriend and I have been sort of slowly, I still call him my boyfriend, we kind of slowly breaking up over the last 3 months, and it's been quite conscious uncoupling-ish. But it's been painful, and then I just had this breakthrough day when I was just kind of getting my mojo back, and I felt so fucking sexy. I don't mean like kind of, I'm going to put on loads of lip gloss and make my lips look like a vagina and wear a tight dress and just be really hot. It wasn't that. I just felt it vibrate in me. Maybe it was a hormonal thing. I don't know. I think it was a happiness thing. I mean, happiness is kind of hormonal anyway. And I just felt it. I felt that kind of mojo return. And on that day, so many men were kind of, I mean, in a respectful way. It wasn't in a Me Too way. But I could feel men looking at me again. And I was looking at them and sort of thinking, I wonder what they'd be like in bed. And I felt my kind of sexual energy rising again. And so I didn't then feel age-shamed by the fact that men didn't look at me anymore or see me as anything interesting. I just realised, actually, it's what you project from within. Ageism is everywhere. Ageism, but age-shame? No, I haven't felt that. Sorry to disappoint.
No, that's good. I'm glad.
Maybe I don't notice because I'm too busy age-shaming myself.
Could be.
I mean, I'm very aware of what certain men, but I've often felt very sensitive about the fact that I'm not like a hot woman. So I was very aware in my 20s, my teens, my 20s and my 30s that there's hot women and certain, like men, you call them modelizers.
Yeah.
And men only go for hot women. We were talking about them earlier, about they're actually kind of slightly useless, shallow men, but I was very aware that I would never be that woman who just, everyone fancies. And then in my 40s, in my late 30s and my 40s, I stopped thinking that. And that was, I guess, an age-related thing. I just grew in confidence.
You stopped thinking you wouldn't be that woman.
Well, I stopped looking at other people and just was the woman I am, rather than looking at a woman I'll never, ever, ever be. And I didn't think of myself like that anymore. I was just like, well, I'm me. And And so it's that thing of talking about age shaming, you know, I think I sort of beauty shame myself. I think, you know, women and men set up a very competitive culture for women.
Do you think, though, it's easier growing into yourself as an older woman or middle-aged woman, as you've been saying, if you weren't a person who was defined by your looks?
That is just massive. I think getting old is really, really hard for women who are really hot. And what getting older has made me realise is how much I did rely on my looks. Really, like, you don't have to be that attractive to lean on your looks. And when you lose them, you do. I mean, I've been guilty of this. You know, you run off a few injections, or I've got some awesome girlfriends who work out really hard, go to doctors to have their faces fixed up. I mean, and they look amazing, but it's a little bit hard work. I'd rather be doing the work on myself rather than on the shell. I'd rather be doing the work on just growing into just being a magnificently happy woman. And I think if you're constantly focusing on your looks, you're growing only in a backward direction. You're not that's not a route to joy. That's a route to constant dissatisfaction. And those women, and some of them are incredible, like really powerful, brilliant. I admire them so much. But they're on a hiding to nothing, and they're scared. They're really scared because that's everything. And actually, they're really funny, they're talented, they're well connected, but the loss of their looks is really, really scaring them.
But I kind of think it's one of the things that's like about menopause for women. It's like it's held up as this really fucking terrifying thing, and at the end,
or empowering.
There's nothing. You're over, and actually, that really isn't the case.
I felt frightened of what was on the other side. And I think a combination of HRT and time has made me realise it's all going to be great. Life's good. I think you need to concentrate on keeping your physical strength together. Not much older than me. I was 50 in July 2019. I've got friends who already got quite serious mobility problems.
What, at 50?
In their 50s.
Oh my God, that's frightening.
Or they've got heart problems, or they've got diabetes. Like, you have really got to look after the machine. Because then I think you can have the aunt I was just telling you about is 86 now. I stayed with her last January, and we went off walking our dogs together, and she goes hiking up. She got a pole. She wears hiking boots, obviously very stable. And we were up hills. We were in the Brecon Beacons. We were up hills. She is so fit, and she's disciplined as well. She said to me, "You must get up in the morning. You can't, when you retire, you can't loll around in bed. It will kill you," which I think is really interesting. It's about that, having that keeping those energy levels.
That kind of goes for being freelance as well, though, doesn't it? Don't you find? It's like I really struggle with not having a structure.
Yeah.
And which brings us back to Wolfie. Wolfie gave you that you've got to get up structure.
Yeah. I mean, to be honest, if you read the book, there are quite a few hangovers in there when Wolfie was a noble, noble boy and locked his bladder down. He'll probably become incredibly incontinent in old age, and that will punish me for all the times I didn't take him out till like 11 in the morning. He could, obviously, I mean, you wouldn't have to be a dog to smell the alcohol on my breath, but I'd get in and it's like he would settle down. He'd be like, I'm going to have a lovely big lie-in on the giant dog bed in the sky. So he'd just love it, because I'd just lie around like a dog for a few hours, where normally I'd be like, "Come along, Wolfie, off we go." And so if you are a lazy person, it's good to get lurchers and whippets, because they just like to sleep a lot. I think if you've got a spaniel, you probably would really have to get up. Little tip there if you're a heavy drinking dog lover. Yeah, when you get older, I think life's good, but you, like the Scottish guy said, like I realised, you've got to keep doing the work. You can't settle into who you are as a person. Can't get too cozy with that. And you've got to be physical, and you've got to get out in fresh air, and life doesn't happen to you. I think you make life happen.
So tell me about your coping mechanisms.
Well, interestingly enough, I've always liked swimming in open water, and I'm a member of the Serpentine Swimming Club, which is 20 quid a year, and you can swim there in the Serpentine in the middle of Hyde Park between 6 and 9:30 in the morning every day of the year. And so I was a sort of fair weather Serpentine swimmer, and I'd never got beyond sort of mid-October, and then I was just, it's too cold, it's not fun anymore, and then I'd not go. And the day that my boyfriend and I, it's been a series of confirmatory conversations and whatnot, I said, oh, is there anything we can do to save this? And he just went, no, it's over. And I just put the dog on the lead and just walked out and went straight to the Serpentine and just walked straight into the water and just immersed myself in cold water. And I came out, so this was probably November time, and I came out and I felt okay. I mean, I felt sad, and I thought, God, I've got a lot of complicated things lying ahead. I don't have a lot of money. Where am I going to live? All sorts of really quite heavy thoughts. I gave that guy the last 10 years of my fertile life, all that heavy stuff. But I shocked my system, and it was like a reboot, and I just got up and got on with it. And so the cold water thing has become a bit of a ritual now. And it is it's so good mentally. It is like switching it off and switching it on again, which often is all you need to do to fix things.
Yeah, and not like just lie around thinking how shit everything is.
Disaster. Go and jump in ice cold water. Wim Hof, I think he'd been packed in ice for 80 minutes or something.
Oh my God.
Maybe more, 1 hour, 53 minutes. So I'm a real newbie to this. But I really recommend it. It really strengthens the mind and the body, and also tones up your thighs.
An added bonus.
It's nice being fit. Really nice being fit. I recommend it.
Now I'm going to ask you a few questions that I'm always going to ask.
Yeah.
At the end.
Okay.
So what one thing would you like to tell younger women?
Well, I'm going to stick with the work never ends theme. Like, the work never ends, but make sure you're doing the right work. Don't obsess too much over your looks, but work hard on finding out who you are. And if you're feeling unhappy, find a way to shift that, because you can. It's not about Botox and fillers and constantly working out in the gym. It's about having a strong body and a strong mind and loving yourself.
Have you done Botox and fillers?
Oh, my word. Yeah, I first did it for Nova magazine. Never went back to it. It was just weird. I was only 30 or something. But yeah, I made a documentary about it, which you can see on the internet for free, called The Ugly Truth About Beauty. And I went off and did loads of stuff. Over the years, I've done a lot. I try to stay away from it, but sometimes it's a nice little boost. And there's this stuff called Profilo now, which doesn't target specific areas. It just gives you back some collagen in your face. Botox and fillers kind of they make your face feel weird, like it's not quite your own, like there's a golf course built inside
your numb or something.
Yeah, numb, and you get odd headaches, and you just don't look quite like you. So I try not to go there. I haven't been there for years, but I do dabble in Profilo sometimes. Just sorry, I'm not a perfect feminist.
Who is, frankly.
Yeah.
What would your superpower be?
What, an actual power I have that could be a superpower, or what would I like to be?
Whatever you want.
Oh, well, right now I'd just like to make money rain out of the sky.
If you work that out, tell me.
Yeah, well, you can come and stand under my cloud. I'd just like to have a money cloud. Imagine if every time you were blue, a cloud appeared over your head and just rained money. But then you would think money would be the way to fix everything, which it isn't. But
it does help.
I really feel like women have been served huge financial injustice. Ongoing, constant, and fed to you by your parents and the things they say about what money is and who earns it. I mean, oh, God, that makes me so angry, the fact that women don't feel entitled to money and aren't considered entitled to money by the people who dispense it. You know, the whole thing of empowering women just with benefits should always go into the woman's bank account. I can't bear the way that money has been an ongoing issue my entire life, and it's just a state of mind that has been taught to me by society, by my parents.
So women just don't have the economic power, do they?
They don't have economic power, but they don't think they have it. Like, I think you can... I mean, I look at women who earn a lot of money, and some of it is about just their mindset and the way they think about themselves. It's not like they've suddenly acquired some skill that deserves money more than I do or you do. So yeah, right now I'd just like to be able to make it rain money, bucket loads of it. That's a horrible superpower, isn't it? Well, it makes me sound really negative.
No, but I'm sure you'd share it.
There's a feminist point to it. So I can get away with it.
Totally is, totally. And it's honest anyway.
Yeah.
Have you got any old bird role models?
I just don't even know where to start. There's so many brilliant older women. And I like women with style, that they kind of pull off style in later life. I can see sometimes a kind of surrendering of caring about what I look like. And I don't mean in terms of like my lips and my face. I just mean just what I wear, and it's nice to just dress scruffy sometimes, but Katharine Hepburn, how could I have forgotten Katharine Hepburn? There's a picture of her. Oh my word, I must post it on Instagram about once every 6 months. There's a picture of her, and she's got quite old lady hair, a bun. She's wearing some beige trousers and a pair of really beaten up old New Balance trainers. That is what I'm going to manifest, that life.
It's like stylish and comfy and
really battered trainers, though. I mean, I really love old trainers on a 75-year-old woman.
Katharine Hepburn.
Yeah.
And lastly, how many fucks do you give?
Oh, well, now I'm single. I just don't know. I do care. I do care about things. I'm not like I don't give a fuck, but it is good to sometimes say to yourself, I don't give a fuck. Like when you think about what other people think, or it's good to say it out loud. I don't give a fuck. It does help you recover from a sabotaging from another person or something.
Even if it's not true. It just feels like another pressure, doesn't it? You're not allowed to give any fucks.
Yeah, it's a bit. I think it can be a little bit try hard, a little bit inauthentic, a little bit of a t-shirt slogan, but it does help to say it. And it's a bit like smiling. You know, they do say just by smiling you can make yourself happy, and maybe just by saying I don't give a fuck, you can perhaps give a few less fucks. That's a lot of F words.
That's all right.
Godmother to about 8 children. That's just what happens when you don't have any children.
People give you theirs and they hope you'll buy lots of presents.
Yeah, give them work experience.
And what's next after Lost Dog?
Well, I'm trying to get this next book together, but I'm also just trying to firefight and make money and survive. And that means journalism. So until that money cloud comes over, I'm just writing for money, which is all I've ever done, really. Now I've got you here and it's in public. I do want to apologise for burning the office down. I did know it was a really tough time for you.
It's okay. I've dined out on that for the last 20 years. It's
fine.
Yeah.
It's a better story than if, say, my boyfriend worked in an office where someone would come in at the weekend and smear excrement all over the executive toilets.
No.
Yeah, so I at least I didn't do that to you.
No, you didn't do that.
Such a man thing to do, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's really aggressive, unpleasant thing to do.
Yeah, all I did was forget to blow out a scented candle.
And burn down the newly decorated office.
No, there was just a hole where my desk was. The office was fine.
On that note.
Yeah.
Thanks, Kate.
Thanks, Sam.
Thank you for listening. I'd love to hear your feedback. You can reach me on Twitter @SamBaker and Instagram @TheOtherSamBaker using the hashtag #TheShift. You can hear a new episode of The Shift each week on Acast, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts. If you like what you hear, please do rate and subscribe because it really does help other people find us.